a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Snoop Dogg. Calvin Cordozar Broadus Jr., known professionally as Snoop Dogg, is an American rapper, singer, songwriter, record producer, television personality, entrepreneur, and actor. His music career began in 1992 when he was discovered by Dr. Dre and featured on Dre's solo debut, Deep Cover, and then on Dre's solo debut album, The Chronic. He has since sold over 23 million albums in the United States and 35 million albums worldwide. Snoop's debut album, Doggystyle, produced by Dr. Dre, was released in 1993 by Death Row Records. Hyped, or influenced by Snoop's featuring on The Chronic, the album debuted at #1 on both the Billboard 200 and Billboard Top R&B/Hip Hop Albums charts, selling almost 1 million copies in the first week of its release. Doggystyle became certified 4 times platinum in 1994 and spawned several hit singles, including What's My Name and Gin and Juice. In 1994, Snoop released a soundtrack on Death Row Records for the short film Murder Was the Case, starring himself. His second album, The Dogfather, also debuted at #1 on both charts, with Snoop's Upside Your Head as the lead single. The album was certified double platinum in 1997. After leaving Death Row Records, Snoop signed with No Limit Records, where he recorded his next 3 albums, To Game Is To Be Sold, Not To Be Told, No Limit Top Dog, and The Last Meal. Snoop then signed with Priority/Capital/EMI Records in 2002, where he released Paid the Cost to Be Da Boss. He then signed with Geffen Records in 2004 for his next 3 albums. Rand, The Masterpiece, The Blue Carpet Treatment, and Ego Trippin, Malice and Wonderland, and Doggumentary were released on Priority. Snoop Dogg has starred in motion pictures and hosted several television shows, including Doggy Fizzle Televizzle, Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood, and Dog After Dark. He also coaches a youth football league and high school football team. In September 2009, Snoop was hired by EMI as the chairman of a reactivated Priority Records. In 2012, after a trip to Jamaica, Snoop announced a conversion to Rastafarianism and a new alias, Snoop Lion. As Snoop Lion, he released a reggae album, Reincarnated, and a documentary film of the same name, about his Jamaican experience, in early 2013. His 13th studio album, Bush, was released in May 2015, and marked a return of the Snoop Dogg name. His 14th solo studio album, Coolaid, was released in July 2016. Snoop has 17 Grammy nominations without a win. In March 2016, the night before WrestleMania 32 in Arlington, Texas, he was inducted into the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame, having made several appearances for the company, including as Master of Ceremonies during a match at WrestleMania 24. In 2018, he released his first gospel album, Bible of Love. Early life. Calvin Cordozar Broadus Jr. was born in Long Beach, California, the second of 3 sons. He was named after his stepfather, Calvin Cordozar Broadus Sr. His mother is Beverly Broadus. His father, Vanel Varnado, was a Vietnam veteran, singer, and mail carrier who was frequently absent from his life. As a boy, Broadus' parents nicknamed him Snoopy because of his appearance, but usually addressed him as Calvin at home. His mother and stepfather divorced in 1975. When he was very young, Broadus began singing and playing piano at Golgotha Trinity Baptist Church. In 6th grade, he began rapping. Broadus' father left the family when he was 3 months old. A DNA test read by George Lopez on Lopez Tonight revealed Broadus to be of 71% African, 23% Native American, and 6% European descent. As a teenager, Broadus frequently ran into trouble with the law. He was a member of the Rollin' 20 Crips gang in the East Side area of Long Beach, although he stated in 1993 that he never joined a gang. Shortly after graduating from high school, he was arrested for possession of cocaine, and for the next 3 years was frequently in and out of prison. With his cousins Nate Dogg and Lil Half Dead and friend Warren G, Snoop recorded homemade tapes as a group called 213, named after the Long Beach area code. One of his early solo freestyles over En Vogue's Hold On made it to a mixtape that was heard by influential producer Dr. Dre, who called to invite him to an audition. Former NWA associate the DOC taught him how to structure his lyrics and separate the thematics into verses, hooks, and chorus. 1991, 1997, Death Row, Doggystyle, and Dogfather. When he began recording, Broadus took the stage name Snoop Doggy Dogg. Dr. Dre began working with Snoop Dogg, first on the theme song of the 1992 film Deep Cover, and then on Dr. Dre's debut solo album The Chronic with the other members of his former starting group, Dogg Pound. The huge success of Snoop Dogg's debut Doggystyle was partially because of this intense exposure, fueling the ascendance of West Coast G-Funk hip-hop. The singles, Who Am I? And Gin and Juice reached the top 10 most played songs in the United States, and the album stayed on the Billboard charts for several months. Gangsta rap became the center of arguments about censorship and labeling, with Snoop Dogg often used as an example of violent and misogynistic musicians. Unlike much of the harder-edged gangsta rap artists, Snoop Dogg seemed to show his softer side, according to music journalist Chuck Phillips. Rolling Stone music critic Tory asserted that Snoop had a relatively soft vocal delivery compared to other rappers. Snoop's vocal style is part of what distinguishes him, where many rappers scream, figuratively and literally. He speaks softly. Doggystyle, much like The Chronic, featured a host of rappers signed to or affiliated with the Death Row label, including Daz Dillinger, Corrupt, Nate Dogg, and others. A short film about Snoop Dogg's murder trial, Murder Was the Case, was released in 1994, along with an accompanying soundtrack. On July 6, 1995, Doggystyle Records Incorporated, a record label founded by Snoop Dogg, was registered with the California Secretary of State as business entity number C1923139. After Snoop Dogg was acquitted of murder on February 20, 1996, he, the mother of his son, and their kennel of 20 pit bulls moved into a 5,000 FT2 home in the hills of Claremont, California, and by August 1996 Doggystyle Records, a subsidiary of Death Row Records, signed the Gap band's Charlie Wilson as one of its first artists. He collaborated with fellow rap artist Tupac Shakur on the 1996 single Two of America's Most Wanted. This was one of Shakur's last songs while alive. He was shot on September 7, 1996, in Las Vegas, dying 6 days later. By the time Snoop Dogg's second album, Dogfather, was released in November 1996, the price of living the gangster life had become very evident. Among the many notable hip-hop industry deaths and convictions were the death of Snoop Dogg's friend and label mate Tupac Shakur and the racketeering indictment of Death Row co-founder Suge Knight. Drive. Dre had left Death Row earlier in 1996 because of a contract dispute, so Snoop Dogg co-produced Dogfather with Daz Dillinger and DJ Pooh. This album featured a distinct change of style from Doggystyle, and the lead-off single, Snoop's Upside Your Head, featured a collaboration with Charlie Wilson. The album sold reasonably well, but was not as successful as its predecessor. Dogfather had a somewhat softer approach to the G-Funk style. After Dr. Dre withdrew from Death Row Records, Snoop realized that he was subject to an ironclad time-based contract and refused to produce any more tracks for Suge Knight other than the insulting "Fuck Death Row" until his contract expired. In an interview with Neil Strauss in 1998, Snoop Dogg said that though he had been given lavish gifts by his former label, they had withheld his royalty payments. Stephen Thomas, early wine of AllMusic, said that after Dogfather, Snoop Dogg began moving away from his gangster roots toward a calmer lyrical aesthetic. For instance, Snoop participated in the 1997 Lollapalooza concert tour, which featured mainly alternative rock music. Troy J. Augusto of Variety noticed that Snoop's set at Lollapalooza attracted much dancing and, strangely, even a small mosh pit in the audience. 1998-2006, signing with No Limit and continued success. Snoop signed with Master P's No Limit Records in 1998 and debuted on the label with The Game Is To Be Sold, Not To Be Told that year. His other albums on No Limit were No Limit Top Dog in 1999 and Our Last Meal in 2000. In 1999, his autobiography, The Dogfather, was published. In 2002, he released the album Paid the Cost to Be the Boss on Priority/Capital/EMI, selling over 1,300,000 copies. The album featured the hit singles From the Church to the Palace and Beautiful, featuring guest vocals by Pharrell. By this stage in his career, Snoop Dogg had left behind his gangster image and embraced a pimp image. In 2004, Snoop signed to Geffen Records/Star Trek Entertainment, both distributed by Interscope Records. Star Trek is headed by producer duo The Neptunes, which produced several tracks for Snoop's 2004 release Rand, the masterpiece. Drop It Like It's Hot, the first single released from the album, was a hit and became Snoop Dogg's first single to reach #1. His third release was Signs, featuring Justin Timberlake and Charlie Wilson, which entered the UK chart at #2. This was his highest entry ever in the UK chart. The album sold 1,724,000 copies in the US alone, and most of its singles were heavily played on radio and television. Snoop Dogg joined Warren G and Nate Dogg to form the group 213 and released The Hard Way in 2004, debuting at #4 on the Billboard 200 and #1 on the top R&B/hip-hop albums. It included the single Groupie Love. Snoop Dogg appeared in the music video for Kon's Twisted Transistor, along with fellow rappers Lil Jon, Exhibit, and David Banner. Snoop Dogg appeared on 2 tracks from Ice Cube's 2006 album Laugh Now, Cry Later, including Go to Church, and on several tracks on The Dogpound's Carly Is Active the same year. His song, Real Talk, was leaked on the internet in the summer of 2006 and a video was later released on the internet. Real Talk was dedicated to former Crips leader Stanley Tookie Williams and Adista Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor of California. 2 other singles on which Snoop made a guest performance were Keep Bouncing by Too Short and Gangsta Walk by Coolio. Snoop's 2006 album The Blue Carpet Treatment debuted on the Billboard 200 at #5 and sold over 850,000 copies. The album and the second single, That's That Shit, featuring R. Kelly, were well received by critics. In the album, he collaborated in a video with E40 and other West Coast rappers on the single, Candy. 2007, 2012, Ego Trippin, Malice and Wonderland and Doggumentary. In July 2007, Snoop Dogg made history by becoming the first artist to release a track as a ringtone before its release as a single. It's the Dog. On July 7, 2007, Snoop Dogg performed at the Live Earth concert, Hamburg. Snoop Dogg has ventured into singing for Bollywood with his first ever rap for an Indian movie, Sing Is King. The song title is also Sing Is King. He appears in the movie as himself. The album featuring the song was released on June 8, 2008 on Junglee Music Records. He released his 9th studio album, Ego Trippin, along with the first single, Sexual Eruption. The single peaked at #7 on the Billboard 100, featuring Snoop using auto-tune. The album featured production from QDT. Snoop was appointed an executive position at Priority Records. His 10th studio album, Malice and Wonderland, was released on December 8, 2009. The first single from the album, Gangsta Love, featuring The Dream, peaked at #35 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album debuted at #23 on the Billboard 200, selling 61,000 copies its first week, making it his lowest charting album. His third single, I Wanna Rock, peaked at #41 on the Billboard Hot 100. The fourth single from Malice and Wonderland, titled Pronto, featuring Soulja Boy Tell 'Em, was released on iTunes on December 1, 2009. Snoop re-released the album under the name More Malice. Snoop collaborated with Katy Perry on California Girls, the first single from her album Teenage Dream, which was released on May 11, 2010. Snoop can also be heard on the track Flashing by Dr. Dre and on Currency's song Sea Change. He was also featured on a new single from Australian singer Jessica Mauboy, titled Get 'Em Girls. Snoop's latest effort was backing American recording artist Emmy on her second single entitled Mr. Romeo. Snoop also collaborated with American comedy troupe The Lonely Island in their song Turtleneck and Chain, in their 2011 album Turtleneck and Chain. Snoop Dogg's 11th studio album is Doggumentary. The album went through several tentative titles including Doggystyle 2, The Doggmentary and Doggmentary Music 0020 before being released under the final title Doggmentary during March 2011. Snoop was featured on Gorillaz' album Plastic Beach on a track called Welcome to the World of the Plastic Beach, with a hypnotic brass ensemble. He also completed another track with them entitled Something Like This Night, which does not appear on Plastic Beach, yet does appear on Doggmentary. He also appears on the latest Tech 9 album All Sixes and Sevens on a track called Pornographic, which also features E40 and Chris Calico. 2012-2013, Reincarnated in 7 Days of Funk. On February 4, 2012, Snoop Dogg announced a documentary, Reincarnated, alongside his new upcoming studio album entitled Reincarnated. The film was released March 21, 2013 with the album slated for release April 23, 2013. On July 20, 2012, Snoop Dogg released a new reggae single, La La La, under the pseudonym Snoop Lion. 3 other songs were also announced to be on the album, No Guns Allowed, Ashtrays and Heartbreaks, and Harder Times. On July 31, 2012, Snoop introduced a new stage name, Snoop Lion. He told reporters that he was rechristened Snoop Lion by a Rastafarian priest in Jamaica, in response to Frank Ocean coming out. Snoop said hip-hop was ready to accept a gay rapper. Snoop recorded an original song for the 2012 fighting game Tekken Tag Tournament 2, titled Knock 'Em Down, and makes a special appearance as a non-playable character in the Snoop Dogg stage arena. In September of the same year, Snoop released a compilation of electronic music entitled Loose Joints under the moniker DJ Snoopadelic, stating the influence of George Clinton's Funkadelic. In an interview with the Fader magazine, Snoop stated, Snoop Lion, Snoop Dogg, DJ Snoopadelic, they only know one thing, make music that's timeless and bangs. In December 2012, Snoop released his second single from Reincarnated, Here Comes the King. It was also announced that Snoop worked a deal with RCA Records to release Reincarnated in early 2013. Also in December 2012, Snoop Dogg released a That's My Work, a collaboration rap mixtape with The Dog Pound. In an interview with Hip Hop Weekly on June 17, producer Symbolic One announced that Snoop was working on his final album under his rap moniker Snoop Dogg. I've been working with Snoop. He's actually working on his last solo album as Snoop Dogg. In September 2013, Snoop released a collaboration album with his sons as the Broadus Boys titled Royal Fan. On October 28, 2013, Snoop Dogg released another mixtape entitled That's My Work 2 hosted by DJ Drama. Snoop formed a funk duo with musician Dam Funk called 7 Days of Funk and released their eponymous debut album on December 10, 2013. 2014 present, Bush, Coolaid, Neva Left and Bible of Love. In August 2014, a clip surfaced online featuring a sneak preview of a song Snoop had recorded for Pharrell. Snoop's Pharrell Williams-produced album Bush was released on May 12, 2015. With the first single, Peaches and Cream, having been released on March 10, 2015. On June 13, 2016, Snoop Dogg announced the release date for his album Coolaid, which was released on July 1, 2016. He headlined a Unity Party for donors at Philly's Electric Factory on July 28, 2016, the last day of the Democratic National Convention. Released March 1, 2017 through his own Doggystyle Records, Promise You This precedes the release of his upcoming Coolaid film based on the album of the same name. Snoop Dogg released his 15th studio album Neva Left in May 2017. He released a gospel album titled Bible of Love on March 16, 2018. Snoop was featured on Gorillaz' latest album The Now Now on a track called Hollywood, with Jamie Principle. Other ventures. Snoop Dogg has appeared in numerous films and television episodes throughout his career. His starring roles in film includes the wash and the horror film Bones. He also co-starred with rapper Wiz Khalifa in the 2012 movie Mac and Devin Go to High School, which a sequel has been announced. He has had various supporting and cameo roles in film, including Half Baked, Training Day, Starsky and Hutch, and Bruno. He has starred in 3 television programs: sketch comedy show Doggyfizzle Televizzle, variety show Dog After Dark, and reality show Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood. He has starred in episodes of King of the Hill, Las Vegas, and Monk, 1 episode of Robot Chicken, as well as 3 episodes of One Life to Live. He has participated in 3 Comedy Central roasts for Flavor Flav, Donald Trump, and Justin Bieber. Cameo television appearances include episodes of The L Word, Weeds, Entourage, I Get That a Lot, and The Price is Right. He has also appeared in an episode of the YouTube video series, Epic Rap Battles of History as Moses. In 2000, Snoop directed Snoop Dogg's Doggystyle, a pornographic film produced by Hustler. The film, combining hip-hop with X-rated material, was a huge success and won Top-Selling Release of the Year at the 2002 AVN Awards. Snoop then directed Snoop Dogg's Hustlers, Diary of a Pimp in 2002. Snoop founded his own production company, Snoopadelic Films, in 2005. Their debut film was Bossin' Up, a film inspired by Snoop Dogg's album Rand, starring Lil Jon and Trina. On March 30, 2008 he appeared at WrestleMania 24 as a Master of Ceremonies for a tag team match between Maria and Ashley Massaro as they took on Beth Phoenix and Melina. In December 2013, Snoop performed at the annual Kennedy Center Honors Concert, honoring jazz pianist Herbie Hancock. After his performance, Snoop credited Hancock with inventing hip-hop. On several occasions, Snoop has appeared at the Players Ball in support of Bishop Don Magic Juan. Juan appeared on Snoop's videos for Boss Playa, ADIDAC, PIMP, Nothing Without Me, and A Pimp's Christmas Song. In November 2015, he starred in an Old Navy TV commercial together with Kumail Nanjiani and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. In January 2016, a Change.org petition was created in the hopes of having Dogg narrate the entire Planet Earth series. The petition comes after Snoop narrated a number of nature clips on Jimmy Kimmel Live. In April 2016, Snoop Dogg performed Straight Outta Compton and Fuck the Police at Coachella during a reunion of NWA members Dr. Dre, Ice Cube and MC Ren. He hosted a basketball fundraiser, Hoops for Water, for Flint, Michigan. The event occurred on May 21, 2016 and was run by former Toronto Raptors star and Flint native Morris Peterson. In the fall of 2016, VH1 premiered a new show featuring Snoop Dogg and his friend Martha Stewart called Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party, featuring games, recipes, and musical guests. Snoop Dogg and Stewart also later starred together in a Super Bowl commercial for T-Mobile during Super Bowl 51 in February 2017. For the fall 2017 TV season, Snoop hosted a reboot of The Joke as Wild. It airs on Teebs and was picked up for an initial run of 10 episodes. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?